Hi, we are talking about healing from misophonia today. I am a therapist, Sephora, in California, and I am talking with Moxie about her journey from healing with misophonia. A disclaimer, I apologize for any trigger noises if that happens. I will have this captioned also, so in apologies ahead of time. Also, this is not therapy, this is not medical advice, so if you are dealing with any serious issues, please find a licensed professional where you live. All right, so yeah, Moxie.
Hello. I'm
Hi.
so happy to talk with you. You know,
Yeah,
we haven't talked in video before. We shared a couple of emails, but I've been just, waiting to do this thing.
yeah,
Um,
me too.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, so I used to be misophonic, and it was a huge struggle for me. But I've been beyond my sound barrier, or, beyond the trigger sounds for almost 10 years by now.
Wow.
So it's something that I never thought would happen, but I'm kind of happy to send greetings from the other side and from like years beyond all that. And I hope I get all the details right. But if I can't remember like some specific thing about changing it, then it's just because it's been years.
Yeah, but I think that's awesome, and I was so like blown away when you originally contacted me, because I think, yeah, there's a lot of unknowns in the misophonia world, a lot of unknowns, and I think people do need some sort of hope in this. So hearing your story was, I thought, really important to share. And we connected over a topic called memory reconsolidation, which we'll discuss maybe a little bit after. But
Yes.
yeah, so I guess maybe just giving as much as info as you want to give as yeah, what misophonia was like for you when it started for you, how old you were. um yeah, just like the background of what it was like when you had
Yeah, pretty horrible.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had pretty common age of onset because I think I was around 8 years old.
Mm.
So that's something I see a lot in misophonia forums. And I had my first trigger sounds were, about eating sounds. And one thing that I'm noticing on misophonia forums and groups and everything is that when people mention different triggers that they have, the others kind of have a tendency to acquire more triggers. So maybe I will kind of give a generic view that I had a lot of triggers that had to do with basically mouth related sounds, and then I started reacting to visual
What really?
stimuli as well.
Mouth related sounds, you said.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
got it. Yes, and
yep,
yes, they can be yes, they're yes, it's easy to catch a trigger sometimes, which is really strange. Not always though. And I think there are
yeah,
some ways to avoid that. But anyway, continue.
yes, yeah. And I'm here to tell that it's also possible to drop some triggers, but it takes some intentional learning. It's it's a journey. Yeah. Well, I was also reacting to sounds that were not directly my trigger sounds. Like, in example, if I was in a commuting train and I would hear plastic wrapper sound, that was not directly my trigger sound, but usually when somebody starts like unraveling plastic, it means that they are going to eat something. So I would get
Ah,
tense, like if there's like plastic sound. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? Is somebody gonna eat something?
yeah, yes. The anticipatory anxiety, the anxiety even before it happens is huge. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes.
yes.
But I would get like false positive alarm through that because sometimes I would turn to a person who is doing
Mm-hmm.
the plastic thing, and then it turns out they are not going to eat anything, they are just
Mm-hmm.
doing something else. So it still takes a moment to calm down from that kind of thing. But yeah. uh,
Yes. I think a lot of people can relate to that of some weird brain things of when we
yeah.
think it's a sound, but then it's not where it's coming from. But
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started at 8 years old. Um, yeah, I guess tell me more about having it, or then knowing what it was or learning what it was, and then maybe saying like, how do I help myself with this?
Yes, all right. So I think the first time I reached out for help was when I was actually a child. I
Mm.
saw some sort of helpful children's whatever contacting place. It wasn't the internet, but this was like the beginning of the social internet. So it was like a web page that is like children's content in internet. I'm like, okay, what's this? And they are like, if you have something in your mind that you want to talk about to an adult. So I just opened this super old crappy web page and start typing like I have this problem that I can't eat with my family, and I don't know, I don't want to be a problem to them. And some sort of friendly adult answered me and just had no clue what to answer. So that was useless, but kind but useless. And I think I started kind of getting progressively worse. We
Mm.
had a lot of high stress in my childhood home, so I just wasn't aware of most of it. Or when you are a child, how do you know how things are supposed to be like? So not much places to compare to, but it really got impossible for me to eat with my family members, or they were also breathing, you know,
Hmm.
and just exist.
Was there any family member that bothered you more?
Yeah, it started with my other parent. Like both my parents are women, so
Hmm.
a lot of women in the house. But I also have brother and a sister. I'm the middle one,
Hmm.
so little sister and big brother, and two women in the house. And yeah, I couldn't stand eating noises of any of them, but maybe I could tolerate my sister a little bit longer.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, we've always had quite good relations in the
Hmm.
middle of all the stress and stuff.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of years that I can kind of skip in the story because it's all the misophonic people know how it's like. If there are people watching this who have no clue at all, I don't know how to describe the sound hell in specific. It's just, yeah. I was 12
Yeah.
years old when I kind of figured out how I could move out of my childhood home, which is super early.
Wow. That
Yeah,
is.
I had to get out.
Okay.
And I got a place to study elsewhere when I got it when I was 15, but I turned 16, so I could move to school
Mm.
elsewhere to work with horses.
Oh.
They teach that like 200 kilometers away, which is, I guess you use miles. I can't remember how much they are. Maybe
I don't.
150 miles or something.
Okay, that's far. Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, far away for someone who's underaged. So I
Yeah.
started living in a dorm with
Wow.
no members of my nuclear family anywhere near me. So I experienced a little bit of decrease in the intensity of triggers, although
Yeah.
I wasn't any better. And in some sense, I started getting into worse condition psychologically because now I don't have the stress and trauma of the childhood home. So I'm like experiencing some sort of safety for the first time. And I started just losing sleep and having flashbacks and getting just messed up. So,
I see.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot for a child to go through, and I think there is a spectrum of people with misophonia. Of some people have a lot of trauma, but then some people have a little less. And but there's still something usually going on within growing up. Something is usually happening of what I see. But there's, yeah, this spectrum of more trauma and less trauma. But I see clients that have a lot of trauma with misophonia, and I also personally relate to having trauma and misophonia. So isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be curious. Do you relate to being a highly sensitive person? Do you know what that term is?
Uh, yeah, I think I'm within that category, but I must say I'm
Okay.
not very familiar with with the term. I mean, I know the term, but like with the full theory, because I bounced into it and I saw a description of like 15 to 20% of population on Earth being like in this most sensitive category. But then I couldn't find the other categories. I'm like, okay, do we slice population into fifths? So what are the others called? Like, what's the So, I don't know. But I'm someone who experiences feelings very physically, and I have like a lot of empathy. And yeah, I think I'm generally sensitive person, but I'm also quite outgoing. So I'm not like a shy person or withdrawing person. And these days I don't really get so I don't get that reactive. Not just the sound sensitivity. I'm otherwise quite smooth sailing as well.
Yeah. Well, I think there can be highly sensitive people that are more outgoing and smooth and but still more empathetic and but can get but need more downtime just in general, might be less stimuli, more sleep just in general. But I think some people relate to the highly sensitive person that have misophonia, but not everybody. So that's why I wanted to ask you. It's an interesting thing, but who knows? Also, there's also trauma can make you more sensitive too. So it all kind of overlaps and can get confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I come from background of like a lot of childhood trauma, and I can tell like out of misophonic population, I think more of them have experienced trauma than like general population. I think it's more common within that group, but it's not necessary. You don't necessarily have to suffer through a big massive trauma. I think what it takes is experience where you connect something with being trapped. Because people who have phobia, they want to get away from the dangerous thing, and like everybody wants to. But people who experience phobia usually experience an opportunity of escaping, and people who react in irritated or frustrated or angry ways, kind of this outward energy, usually experience no way out type of situation. You have to have some sort of trap, and it can be like social trap or internal psychological some sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to ask you a question. Were your reactions more anger reactions? Were they anxiety reactions? Were they both? I'm curious.
Yeah, both, bit of everything. I think they kind of evolved over time. Like at first I would be like frustrated, and I would really avoid lashing out to people that I love. That's nobody wants to do that. So I would do the sound mimicking and drowning out the sound. I would go to like hurt myself. I would have my nails on my skin or just physically try to hurt myself. So I was internalizing it. I was also bringing it in external world. I would start yelling and screaming at my parents and just slamming the doors and fleeing the situation, and I would get mean and awful and still kind of questioning like, why am I mean? Like, I'm not a mean person. It's like all kinds of conflicting experiences. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think a big thing also with a lot of people with misophonia is the shame that happens also over the thoughts around it and maybe the reactions and just that general shame, and then it just adds on more pressure and stress, and it's just this whole big tornado of mess. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I would carry a lot of guilt for like ruining the family dinners. I didn't want to do that. I was doing my very best, and of course we tried to figure out ways to do it anyway. Like, can we have the radio on? And it's not as helpful as you would think. But they are trying to do it for me, and I'm still ruining this thing for the entire family. So, oh my God, the responsibility of happiness of everybody.
That's a lot of stress, and for a young person, that's that's a lot. It's just a lot. It's terrible. So,
Yeah.
But when you started to seek help for yourself, what types of things did you try?
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yes, I know there's an oh wow.
yeah, there is a lot. Yeah, it was. I
Yeah.
went through like a pile of therapists. I think I had like
Mm.
4 or 5 of them, and they were different kind of horrible.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
I'm just so glad it's yeah, that's behind me now. But oh my god. Uh, well, one therapist I had was otherwise kind of good, but she was really old, so she didn't always hear what I said. And she didn't let me know about it in time, so I'm like rambling about my life, like, oh, so I have this and that, and then I experience this and that. And eventually, when I go silent and hear out what's the reaction, what's the judgment, am I sick person? She just goes, "What did you say?"
Right.
Like after
Yeah,
10 minutes of talking. Oh no. Yeah, I was on psych medication as well, like psychotropic meds.
Mm.
With
Did that help? Did that help you?
uh I think I was living in the dorm with other
Hmm.
16-year-olds. Like what
Hmm.
could go wrong? Yeah, I couldn't sleep. That was my one of the main problems. I was having the flashbacks and just really wired. Like I had this full blown PTSD type of situation where I'm jumping to the sounds, like sudden sounds. I'm not resting. It's just, you know. So medication helped me sort of with the
Hmm.
sleep. Like I could see on the clock that I'm doing more sleep hours, but I was
Hmm.
still just as tired. And people kind of started avoiding me because they were saying that yeah, she's a crazy person, she's taking medication, maybe
Hmm.
what's wrong with her. So I felt like I'm getting closed out of the group. you know this
Hmm.
was like back then. People are talking about mental illness and medication and all that stuff a lot more these days than they were back
Yes,
then.
yes, yes, yes. It's more open and accepted now than it used to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, but back then
Yeah.
I felt like I'm getting closed out. And I think I went through different types of psych meds. I can't remember the names anymore.
Okay. No,
Some of
there's
them started with S, and some of them started with M, and whatever complex names. So I just humbly went through
yes.
everything. Also, I had really high trust for doctors. I'm like, I'm going in there, and they're telling me I'm a sick person with disorders, and now I must take
Mhm.
medication for my disorders. So I'm like, okay, all right, I guess I
Mhm.
will do that. I was expecting for them to know what's going on, but yeah.
Yeah, yes. It's I think the internet and social media has made misophonia way more understandable. Because I remember when I started having it badly, I didn't even know what it was. I just knew I was sensitive to a certain sound. But I didn't even know it was until I think even like, no, 15 years ago or something when I started understanding more about it. But yeah, there was no
Yeah.
name for it. There was like, it was nothing, nobody knew about it. No therapist knew about it. But did you try any specific kind of therapies that maybe weren't helpful to you, that they gave you specific things to do or anything like that?
Yes, I think I tried therapy with someone who had like hypnosis training, and
Mm.
that probably could have been good if I had kind of felt safe with this person, but I couldn't create the connection where I would kind of feel like this is the type of person that I can connect with. So I don't know. I remember mostly I was just waiting to get to the actual help because people
Mm-hmm.
would say that I have to go to, like, was it a nurse or someone who is not trained in like
Mm-hmm.
high trauma, but who would see you once a week or twice a month while you are waiting for the spot to go to the real professional or something. So I
Yeah.
started feeling like, uh, oh my god, the things I have in me are so horrible that you need like a special person who can receive these things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
mainly
It's
talking therapy that was just like kind of floating around, and I'm talking and
got
I'm
it.
like not sure if it helps, and you know,
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right. So then, all right. Okay. So then, yeah. So the what you and we've been emailing and talking a little bit, but we haven't actually talked. So what I'm most excited to hear about, and what I'm sure a lot of people are really interested in, is the change, and yeah. So I'll just leave it there.
All right, so I don't know if I should add horror
It's a lot.
layers at first, but I was actually
There's a lot of
close.
layers. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was actually close to a psych ward twice as
Okay.
well, so things got bad. Um, uh, yeah, this was in 2011. I found
Mm.
help in 2014, but the final years before that were super weird. Like finally decided to just get out of the psychiatric system, which was a wild decision. And I moved into my car and I
Wow.
drove off to Lapland, and that was an entire thing. And I wasn't triggered by anybody in there. But then
Okay.
I started studying again, like different
Okay.
occupational, more like metal art type of
Mhm.
things, and it went mainly sort of good. I was creating some friendships and everything, but I started going downhill when I was triggered by group separation again, because we had
Mhm.
on the job learning, and I was kind of left out from the circumstances that I wanted and left alone in a social circumstance. I don't know how to say it any better, but I started going downhill from there. It's much easier to see hindsight, but kind of half a year of going downhill, I randomly bounced into help because I found a misophonia for article that
Mm.
had some answers.
Wow. Interesting. An article. Why want to know what the article was? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was scrolling my Facebook. It was summer 2014, and I just bounced into it. At first, I thought I'm looking at a meme because there was this funny picture of like, if you don't shut up, I'm sticking this up your ass, and there's this angry person. I'm like, oh wow, that's me. So I click it because I think it's a meme. I wanna save this picture on my computer because it's funny. But it actually opens up this article, and this was
Mm.
uh, Owen Parachute's Owen Parachute website about getting rid of misophonia, which
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
which I yeah would not thought to be possible. But I started reading the article, and it made kind of a whole lot of sense. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, so eventually I sent him a message, but I think it was in one of those 4S groups in Facebook, because misophonia used to be called sound sensitivity
Mm.
syndrome. What is it?
Mm.
I'm forgetting one S. Selective.
Selective sound sensitivity. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's what it
Which
was.
is
And
I guess an okay name too. So
I don't know.
whatever. Yeah. So you contacted Owen.
Yes, yes, I did.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Best decision of my life, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just really skeptical and really scared and really confused. I'm like, everybody else in this Facebook group for misophonia, or the 4S, was saying that yeah, it must be a scam, and come on, don't do it.
Uh,
It's a scam. It's a brain
mm-hmm.
disorder, and you cannot heal.
Yes, yes, it's a brain disorder. You're messed up for life. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck. It's never gonna get better, and it's only downhill from here, and blah blah blah. And I figured there must be something better, and maybe I'm doing it on behalf of the group. So if it's a scam and if it's a mess, I can just tell them that yeah, it was horrible, and don't do
Okay.
it.
You're the guinea
So
pig.
do it for the team.
Yes, yes.
Oh well. I
So
think that
yeah.
group still has some of the original messages, but yeah.
So okay, so
They probably
yeah.
banned Owen because he was claiming all these outrageous things about healing and stuff. But
Yes,
yep.
yes. Okay, so you went to see him, and then what was that? What was that like, or what did you guys start to do?
It was really awesome and really confusing, because when you start
Mm-hmm.
changing memories and changing perception and all that, it's kind of like walking into the unknown, and all this stuff is just I don't know, just strange. He works with like video calls and email, and back then he didn't have these month blocks. I've checked his website, and now he's saying he works 1 month at a time with a person, but
Mm-hmm.
back then it's, I guess we were just feeling out the rhythm of how much to do it. And since it was like 10 years ago, it wasn't that common to have therapy in like Zoom or Skype. I think it was Skype. So this entire concept of me being at home and not going somewhere was sort of
Mm-hmm.
weird.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was actually more messed up than I thought I was, because I started with my complaints about sounds. And I think in the very first interview, we were kind of feeling it out. I was typing like, yeah, it's the sounds, I can't deal with the sounds, and also I don't want to die. And he's like, you don't want to die? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to die. And it didn't occur to me as a sort of thing you don't, like, people only say
Mm-hmm.
that when it's kind of around the corner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was so used to like having suicidal ideation in my head that it didn't make the news for me, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But I slipped it out, and he's like, well, let's work on it. And this is the strange thing. Since then, I've been talking with misophonic people, and everybody wants to change. Like, nobody wants to suffer with the sounds. But there usually has to be something at the stakes for you to actually do it. Like, you don't want to lose your life, for example. But sometimes people just don't want to lose their job, or don't want to lose the better future that they have in their mind. But I was in the do or die category, which sounds wild, but it also sort of works, because then you will actually do the work, because it's
Yeah,
you have to do it.
desperation will make you do the work. So he gave you things to do. What did he give you to do?
Yes, we were, some of the things he had me do on camera with him, like in the
Ah.
video call, like let's walk through this tool, or even in the relation itself, because I was really good at doing certain problems. So when he was preventing me from doing the problems, I then started doing the problem with him. Like, in
Ah.
example, I was believing that everybody is sort of out to get me. Like,
Mm.
in example, in a sexual sense, because I'm like this hot redhead and everybody's kind of running after me. And it does happen. Like, sometimes people will kind of come at me and they might have a crush on me, which is cute, but I had no ways of coping with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
more like, just leave me alone and don't look at
Mm-hmm.
me. I'll just hide in here. But yeah. And sometimes people would harass me on the street and everything. So I then started believing that about him as well. Like, he's probably
Ah.
just wanting to gain something of me,
Ah.
and
So
yeah, and then
you brought that into the session with
yeah,
him.
but not having much awareness about it either. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like it's this fish in the water scenario. Like, what you believe about the world just appears to be true, and how would you even question that? So I'm like, he's probably just like everybody else,
Ah.
but he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, some of these things were about me just bringing up my behaviors, and then
Ah.
just
Interesting.
yeah, he would relate in ways that those couldn't be true, but kind of pulling me in and out of my own beliefs,
Mm.
which is very unusual. And
Did he just talk about it, or did he use a specific tool
yeah,
that you remember?
he's using combination of everything, a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay. Yeah. Because
But
Owen,
something I like.
yeah. From what I understand, Owen does NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and there's like a lot of different tools. I know like about 5% about it, but there's a lot of different types of weird brain tools to look at things in your brain and do different things. It's really kind of interesting. So he probably used one of maybe something there. Yeah. But what was, I guess, so how long did you work with him altogether?
Altogether, I mean, I would say we had intense 6 weeks, but
Okay.
yeah, after I started to not react to the sounds, I
Mm.
think I had like around 3 months of sort of adjustment time where I would run
Mm-hmm.
into first some things and
Mm-hmm.
kind of gain more confidence, but quite
Mm-hmm.
slowly and
Mm-hmm.
awkwardly. Like this was in the uh, late 2014. I think we started in August, but there was like the
Mm-hmm.
first Christmas that I could eat with people.
Okay.
Very weird.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm kind of, because as I'm a therapist and I kind of want to know that what exactly he did. So
I
he
can
was
go to the
having these,
specifics.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, a little more specifics, and then like was, yeah, just more about noticing that things weren't bothering you so much anymore, but yeah, more specifics.
Right. Yes. It is. Yeah. Uh, well, in example, in camera, I mean, I couldn't deal with it if people were eating and making the sound, but then he
Right.
kind of reversed the roles and he made me get some food from my fridge and start eating in front of him,
Ah.
just to prove that the sound doesn't bother him.
Ah.
But
Okay.
that was something I was resisting, but I was not aware of resisting it. So when he said to me like, "Can you go get something from the fridge and just eat on this session?" I was feeling like I don't know if I
Mm.
want to do that, but that's still not the same as being subjected to somebody else's trigger sounds. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
would be the person who would be doing the
Mm-hmm.
sounds, and that's something misophonic people usually avoid. They don't want to make the trigger sound in front of
Mm-hmm.
somebody else because you don't want to hurt others. But simultaneously, you also know that a lot of people will not feel pain from these
Ah.
sounds, but you still kind of
Okay.
have to prove it for yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
I would eat and kind of see if I die or see if he dies, and
Okay.
nobody
So
died.
you had this belief, there's somewhere this belief that he helped you to uncover of I'm gonna die. Like I might die. If I have to withstand these noises, I might die. That was, you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
uncovered this belief with him.
it's a death threat
Okay.
type of thing. Like that
So that
explains the uh,
interesting.
yeah, explains why the reaction is such a large thing because
Okay. Did he
rage
link
is
that?
there to give you courage to deal
Mm,
with the
yeah,
threats.
yes, it is. It is. Did he link that I'm gonna die to childhood stuff for you?
He has very here and now type of a style.
Okay,
Like
okay,
if you feel like you're gonna die, let's see if you die now type of a thing.
okay. I see. Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's
okay, so
sometimes
yeah.
sometimes it's more like you can learn the problem without knowing how you learn the problem, and you can
Hmm.
also drop the problem without learning how to drop the problem. But the thing is, the insight will usually kind of just show up as this natural
Hmm.
reward for
Hmm.
changing things.
Okay.
So sometimes
Yeah.
insight comes first, and then you run into new type of reaction. And sometimes
Okay.
things just are different, and then it clicks. Like, of course it's different. So
Interesting. Yes. Yeah. So there was what they call, I guess, prediction errors. Prediction
yes,
errors. We predict something to happen, and then it doesn't happen that way. Yeah, but it's different than, because I guess in OCD therapy or in phobia therapy, a therapist will do exposure therapy, right? And right, they expose the person to, and the idea is that um the brain, just the anxiety or the stress starts to come down. Now they found in misophonia that that doesn't work. That doesn't work
yeah, no
for
exposure
exposure
therapy.
therapy. So this is
Yeah,
a
that's
little
just
different.
yeah.
This is how is so if you can explain, how is this different from exposure therapy of what you did?
Right. I'm very much so against exposure therapy for misophonic people because that's just then you just make them suffer. And for what?
Right.
But you still need, in order to change something, you do have to bring something up to like the working memory. So you have to kind of get to the whereabouts, but just very, very gently. Like sometimes it's enough to even remind the person of the last time that they were triggered, because you will kind of recreate some of that body
Right.
state. Like you can still get your heart rate up a little, and you can still get a little bit uncomfortable. So some discomfort is actually needed, but just a little bit, just that you can get the general target learning up. Because if you want to reconsolidate stuff, you need to be writing it on the same spot. So you don't have competing learnings. You have all the things written on the same spot. So you have to bring the spot up, if that makes sense.
Yes. Which is interesting because in the therapy that I've been doing and learning is coherence therapy. And we go, but a lot of it is going back to some of the original traumas that happened, or the original threat that got linked to sound, but what you're explaining, I guess it's more of just what's the current idea of what's going to happen to me, bringing up a reaction and seeing if that happened for you, if I'm going to die, or if other people are bothered, which it didn't happen.
Yeah, you can, both are good. You can learn it here and now, or imaginary future, or through remembering something. I think because I've done like hundreds of memory changes, like literal hundreds, big numbers, and most of those were 10 years ago, because I still intentionally update sometimes, but I've gotten more lazy about it because now I don't have to, and back then I really had to. So I had a lot of power to go through resistance, but yeah.
Tell me about the working with memories, because you had said to me a little bit about the NLP rewind technique.
Yes.
But yeah. Tell me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I left my flashbacks. Yeah.
Okay.
So rewind technique, or overall NLP techniques, are very much something that you can do in your imagination. Like some of the memory changes are more physical, like breath work or tapping or that stuff. Then you physically have to do something. But in NLP, you really just imagine, like compare memories and their type of the sound that they would have, or if they were a color, then what color would they be? Would this memory be black and white or something? But rewinding technique, or like this movie theater ways of handling memories, like you imagine yourself in the audience of movie theater, and the awful memories over there, down there, all the way down there, or you can even take a step back from there. I can't remember if I did it that way. I think I might have done the double dissociation version. Yeah, where you are watching the person who is watching the memory on the screen all the way down there, and it's small and black and white, and then you rewind it and everything. I think I did it that way. But and I did it in session, in camera. Like Owen had me do it on camera.
Okay.
And I think afterwards I was usually really exhausted after the sessions. I think I asked him if it's okay if I just go straight to sleep from here, or will I ruin the results if I sleep on it? Do I have to stay awake? And I guess it was indifferent. He probably just said that, just go back to bed, because I was really depressed. So I was spending a lot of time in bed. But the next morning I woke up to the world of no flashbacks. So it's pretty magical.
Wow.
Yeah, if I would recommend one tool for one purpose, I would recommend Rewind thing for these open flashbacks and uncontrollable remembering of awful things. That's just really great for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know a little bit about the rewind technique. I don't do it, but I think there's similar therapies that kind of do. It's kind of bringing up the old thing, the old memory, the old neural I'm not saying this correctly, neural networks, of what happened, what was learned, and then you bring that up and then you can change it. And then when that's open, there's a window of time, that's memory reconsolidation, and then you learn something new, and that can be rewriting the memory, redoing the memory, helping yourself, helping your younger self, whatever that is. I know the rewind technique does a lot of like move it backwards and move it forwards, and it does all these weird funky things to manipulate the memory. Yeah, it's really fascinating. Yeah, so but there's other kind of things that I think do it too. If somebody watching this and is can't find an NLP therapist, but
there are many ways to do it, like so many ways to do it.
Yeah, which is cool. So you were doing rewriting these memories, kind of working on specific memories. Were they specific to misophonia, or were they just like just trauma life stuff?
We did a lot of changes, and at some points I felt like we are not even working on the misophonia thing, because I was really presenting this here and now problem, and the problem is that I can't eat with the people and all that. So he started asking about other stuff, and I was not really connecting it at all. I'm like, why are we curious if I have a partner or no? Like, what does that have to do with this thing? But it did.
It all connected. Yeah, it all connected.
Yeah, it all does connect, but it's like this huge pattern that I can't see from up close. So he was like, okay, here's the next thing, let's go over there. But I did change some memories that I think were really specific to eating. And he would also send me on missions about the eating thing. Like, he would send me on a public place to eat chewing gum next to some unknown strangers and seeing if they die or no. And they didn't die, but it was still a little bit scary.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me about that I'm gonna die thing. And and while it was so in the here and now, but I'm curious if that was even like this just younger memory around all the trauma that you experienced, that I'm gonna die. If it was even linked to that too,
Yeah, I think there was one really specific eating memory that I did change, and this was something where I had been, I had to go through some like violence, and afterwards a situation where I was in the dinner table with my family, and my mom was freaking out because she knew I was hurt, so she was just freaking out, and I think at that moment I just couldn't stand to see my mom freaking out. So I told her it's fine, like, I'm not even hurt. But at what cost? Because I think that was one of the building blocks of really hating the sound of people, because then we are in this silence, everybody's eating and I'm telling them everything is fine. And, it took a lot of responsibility.
Taking care of other people. Yeah, taking care of other people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was like 5 years old or something. So, and I really felt responsible for my mother's happiness. And I really felt like I'm constantly failing at making my mom happy. So.
Wow. Were they, I'm curious, I'm just going back in time now, was the family understanding about your misophonia as a child?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No,
yeah.
Oh my god. I had to change some of those memories as well. Like this time when we were in a car, I think the entire family in the car, I think we were in another country. This must have been some sort of family holiday or something. So there's this pressure that, we have paid to do this trip and you cannot ruin this trip now. So we were sitting in the car and my mom had some sort of wound here, or like infection or something. So she had to lick her lips constantly, so I could hear the licking sound and I was expecting the licking sound. And she was just on my side and doing it. And then she said something like, I've decided that you are just going to have to deal with the sounds now. Like, you can't be the princess, you can't rule the entire family. And, stuck in this car.
Yeah, car.
Oh my
car
God.
is a big one. I think car is a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, you can't escape from that.
That's
one of
a
those,
major
you are really
trapping.
trapped.
You're really trapped, yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to the working with Owen, and then working on these memories, did you just wake up one day and misophonia was gone, or was it like a gradual shift?
Yeah, it was more gradual,
Okay.
because sometimes I could feel like the intensity is kind of lesser than it used to be. But
Mm-hmm.
there are a couple of really sudden things that just, I remember being at my friends from that school, and
Mm-hmm.
the roommate of one of my friends would walk out of his room, and I wasn't expecting an eating situation because we were in the living room, but then this dude walks out of the room and he's holding a slice of pizza. So I already know like that's something I can't deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he, before I have another thought in my head, he just takes a bite out of it, and I can hear the sound. And just nothing happens in me. So I think I ran right to my laptop and opened the email and sending message to Australia like, what happened? Why could I do it? So I did have these random, sudden, complete mismatch things,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
spontaneously between sessions. But most of the
Wow.
time it was kind of a gradual melt. But that pizza slice is something I will never forget.
Wow.
This dude had
Wow.
no idea he ate pizza once and it changed somebody's life. But maybe I should send
Yeah.
him a message like, yeah, 10 years ago
Yeah.
you ate a pizza once.
Yeah. Yes.
It is
Was it,
so weird.
did you have the cognition of like, like I'm gonna die cognition already and that didn't happen, or was it just like he ate pizza and nothing happened?
He ate pizza and nothing happened.
Okay, so
Like
yeah, that's
we
cool.
went
Okay,
through so
okay,
many
got it.
memories at
Okay,
once. I didn't always
yeah,
connect like why things would
okay,
work.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
sometimes I was trying to get the reaction to sounds down, and I had like so much frustration. Like between sessions, I would read all the material. I would just dive in and start doing memory changes on myself. Like before this, I had no idea what memory changes are, or like
Mm,
or how to do them. And when I started, I was kind of worried if I'm gonna break my brain or something, if I'm gonna get more messed up.
mm,
And he said,
mm.
like, don't worry about that. You can't hurt yourself more than you already have. Just go for it. And I'm like, all right. And I had this super chaotic style. I'm taking the
So
next
yeah, well,
something and
tell me
seeing.
about that. What is changing memories on by yourself look like?
All right, so he gave me a bunch of options. He walked me through different tools on camera, just to check
Mm-hmm.
that I learned them or something. Uh, but I think I was doing tapping on the memories. Mm, maybe that was something I did the most. And my other favorite was to take video clip of myself and watch it later
Mm,
on. So that's really easy way to do the mismatch experience, except for you'll feel resistance towards doing it. But other than that, it's really easy because all you gotta do is take a video clip of yourself freaking out. Anyway, it doesn't have to be about sounds. You can be crying about being a bad person and nothing's gonna be good, and I'm the one
mm-hmm.
case that can't be helped. And take the
Mm-hmm.
video clip. And then you are supposed to watch the video clip when you are feeling something else, when you are feeling good about yourself,
Hmm.
or anything positive, or even boring. Even boring is non-threatening state. So you watch your freak out clip during a better moment, and it will
Mm-hmm.
sort of create this mismatch between
Interesting.
seeing yourself as freaking out person while you are not feeling like you are freaking out. So
That's really
that's something I did.
interesting. Yeah, that's
Yes.
really
And
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
he would prepare me good video clips that had the emotional truth, or like the coherence,
Mm-hmm.
the symptom coherence. So he was using them in the same way that coherence therapists are using the card with the emotional
Ah,
truth
yes,
written
coherence
on it.
therapy. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
they do the card. You can put it on your
yes.
fridge door and you can look at your awful beliefs every
Uh-huh.
time you go get a snack.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
yes, yes, they love doing it. And it's good, it
yeah.
works. But he was doing the
Yes.
same with video clips.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, interesting. Well, that's really fascinating. Yeah. Yes. I interacted a little bit with Owen, who's really nice, and he sounds Yes, he has a course online that you can try to learn all these tools on your own. It's a lot of information. I have to go back and even look at it again. But yeah, he seems like a really fascinating, smart guy to know all this
Yeah,
stuff.
he knows a
Yeah,
lot of stuff.
yeah, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So, and then tapping. Did you do like emotional freedom technique? I know there's faster EFT these days. What kind of tapping did you do on memories for yourself?
Yes, so a lot of people who train the tapping are saying, the meridians you are supposed to touch here, and is it here,
Mm-hmm.
and then here, and like how
Right.
like go
Yes.
through
Yes.
different
Yes.
spots.
Yep.
I never
Mm-hmm.
learned it that way because Owen just taught me to, you know, get into the belief, and then
Mm-hmm.
you physically pull yourself out of it. So it doesn't really matter if you are, going to this awful state of mind and then slapping your own face. Just do something physically to distract yourself from this state.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes he was just sending me out to walk around my room, or I would jump,
Mm-hmm.
just with
Mm-hmm.
both feet, like
Ah.
dum, dum, dum.
Yeah.
So the physical distraction is what matters. But I would just drum
Yeah.
my face with my fingers. And there used to be more active tapping communities back then as well.
Right.
There
Yeah.
still is, but they were really, really common. Like people would swap sessions. So people who had already learned a little bit of something, but who were still dealing with this and that and this and that thing,
Mm-hmm.
they would swap seats. The other one would be the practitioner, or kind of
Mm-hmm.
guide the other one, and the other one is touching their face, and then they swap around. So there
Okay.
used to be a lot of that, but I don't think I ever got in camera with anybody. But it was just this encouraging environment of, like, I could see others who work on their memories, because obviously I was going back to the misophonia groups, like, oh my
Yeah.
god, guys, I think I'm having some sort of breakthrough. Like, I could see a guy eat a pizza, and
Yeah.
I didn't react to that. But then I got thrown out of the groups because I must
Wow.
be,
They threw
yeah.
you out of the group.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
shoot the
yeah,
messenger.
that's pretty
But
harsh. Yeah.
yeah, but I still needed this kind of social environment for what's going on. So
Yeah.
tapping communities do have that. So me working on myself looked a lot like me touching my own face and me taking video clips of myself,
That's
and
really
sometimes
interesting. Yeah.
combination. Yeah, I would sometimes just film myself touching my face because I was trying to get the right target learnings. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
really, really difficult, even for someone who's experienced in memories. It's difficult to see
Yes,
yourself
it
from there.
sounds, yeah, and I want to do a midway disclaimer of working on your own,
Yes.
for people working on their own stuff, that can be tough. So if somebody's watching this and they're like, I'm going to start working on my trauma memories, it's that it could be a slippery slope. So of going down a bad to a dark place, so I would I don't know. I mean, for some people, I think I would. Yes, I don't want to put recommendations out, but I would just be careful if you're somebody with heavy trauma and you are trying to do tapping on it or bringing it up again, to be careful of and that I would say maybe in the beginning work with a practitioner to start this stuff, to have another human with you alongside of you doing this, because you don't want to send yourself into a dark, deep, scary place. That could happen for people working on heavy trauma memories too. So that's, a thing, I think, to be careful.
Yeah, I agree. It's good, best to start with somebody, and even for somebody who has been working on themselves for a while, I still
Right.
think if you have like flashbacks or something like really out there, or intrusive thoughts, or hallucinations or stuff like that, then
Mm-hmm.
those are the type of things that are best worked with somebody else. Like they can
Mm-hmm.
be worked, but it's just really difficult for yourself. But I also think that most of the time, biggest risk about working on your own memories is that you'll just get really frustrated when it doesn't work.
Yes.
but
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah. I think so, and sometimes I think some people with childhood trauma stuff, it's hard for them even to tap into those memories. sometimes to even go back there, there's a bit of a dissociative quality that can happen too, that that I can relate to personally, of like, was that my childhood? So it's kind of hard to even go back there. So yeah, it can be, yeah, what you're doing, yeah, you've learned a lot on your own, you know, and I think Owen helped you a lot, but then you kind of learned a lot. So it was a gradual shift, and then it just kind of fizzled away. That's what it sounds like to me. Okay.
Yes, and on, yeah, well caught. And on top
Yes.
of like having this change, even though it's really hard to miss, like if somebody is doing the trigger sound and you are not reacting to it, it's just this whole stopping moment. You can't miss a moment like that. But I still had to go through a period of building confidence, sort of like the first Christmas and the first everything. And just even, you know, my mom has seen me react uncontrollably to eating sounds like most my life. Is it now? It's more like half my life and not most my life. Wow. But she had to kind of adjust as well. So when I started telling her that, you know, I can actually do this thing now, she still struggled to eat around me. So we had this idea that we would kind of work our way there. We would meet and she would eat with her mouth open. And and I was telling her, I can do it now. Like you can actually, you know, you can actually eat messy or something. Like I'm not gonna mind these days. But she was kind of freaking out about that. She was with her food like, and she found it easier to do if I close my eyes. So I'm like, okay, go for it. Eat messy. I will close my eyes. Okay. And then I was waiting in silence for her to do it. So people around me had to adjust as well for me being very different.
Yeah. That's interesting. Did you, I'm curious, along your journey when you were like doing maybe working with Owen or just on your own, where you weren't completely rid of misophonia, but were there things in the moment, if you got bothered, that you did? Like if you got triggered, I guess the word is. I don't like the word so much. But that you did in the moment that maybe helped you. I'm curious. Or that Owen maybe suggested to do, or that you learned to do.
Like, do you mean during the time that I was learning it, or like?
Yeah, like if you were not cured yet, you're not reconsolidated yet, and you're not reconsolidated yet. And somebody ate. Was there anything that you did in those moments?
Run.
Okay, so there was no. Oh, that's it. Okay, so
no, I mean, there was also a reframe thing, but it's yeah, but it's usually real life situations are much higher intensity than the training things. So if there was a trigger sound around me out there in the wild, I would just, you know, avoid. But yes, but during the time I was still learning this thing, there was the reframe thing. It does exist and it is helpful. I couldn't do the entire thing with it, but it does take the intensity down a little bit. But the way I did it was I had like YouTube video with the trigger sound, but it's on YouTube, so I can control it. I can put the volume really down and I can hit pause whenever. So it was really silent and really like a microsecond of it to have that reaction up. And then I would reframe how I react to the fact that I react, you know. So kind of
what was the reframe? So what was what was that?
I think I started from something really generic, like this wasn't safe back then, but now I'm 21 years old and now this is safe, and getting more specific from there, like what wasn't safe. Like the fact that I can't make my mom happy is not safe. Okay. And then I would add that there and add more content into it. And I think when I was learning the reframe, I was kind of going through this frustration of not connecting with the words emotionally, because it's kind of easy to run over the exercise and do the thing that, oh, back then this wasn't safe and now I'm here and now I'm such and such old and I'm safe now, and it doesn't still feel safe and it doesn't feel like touching the thing that wasn't safe. So I found it helpful to get frustrated. Like, why doesn't this make sense for me? Like, how can somebody just say it and feel like something is happening? So it was frustrating in the helpful sense. So I started adjusting it.
It sounds a little bit like the the coherence therapy, which I think you kind of know about.
Yeah, I'm familiar with coherence therapy.
You get to it's like reading the card. You get to the root of things and the schema, as they call it. What was learned, what was linked to the threat, and that you kind of read that or brought that up while you were watching a video, almost a little bit. That's a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe?
Yeah, it's correct. It's just really vague. It's just this vague reframe of having learned this back then for a reason that was important enough to start reacting this way, because something is very important for a person to react in that way. It was more vague, and it was more like a whole lot faster to have the Australian guy show up and just push me into my awful learnings and pull me out of them and dump me into my awful learnings again. And he does these super fast ins and outs of the learning. I think he called them like limbic sandwiches. Sometimes you make the bad thing, good thing, bad thing, good thing. So
I see. This is fascinating. Okay.
So the theory, or like the overall meta frame around getting in and out of your awful learnings and awful memories, or nice learnings and nice memories, is that every time you are not here and now in this present room, you are doing this time travel in your head with the ideas of the future and memories of the past, and like all of those are actually just the time travel. So you can stack a pile of things, like the good safe trance, like all of those can be perceived as trances. So you can stack the good thing with the bad thing and the good thing again, and if you get it right, like the person doesn't go to complete freakdown, if you can keep it within the working window, sort of, you can actually desensitize a person out of the things.
Interesting.
I hope that makes sense.
I kind of get it. Yeah, it's. I think it's. I think in EMDR therapy, which is the eye movement therapy, it's talking about 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the present. So you're a little bit in the past, but then you're also, that you're in the present. And there's that the dual attention of that too is what kind of maybe something. So that kind of sounds similar to me also, what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, he had me rearrange my eyeballs sometimes as well.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Just a little bit more.
Yes. Okay, so so maybe then talking about memory, then you got kind of interested in learning about memory reconsolidation after this. You were kind of like, what just happened to me, kind of, I guess.
Yes, I was.
What the heck happened? What the heck happened?
Yes, I had this like absolute need to know, because it really didn't. I went from like suicidal ideas and not being able to tolerate people breathing and eating. I had really small circle of possibilities. Like I spent most of the time in my apartment, and I was still able to study, but I was really, really, really limited in my life. And then 6 weeks later, I can eat with people and I can go out and about. Like, why would that happen for me? And also, I had this really huge burn to just run to all of the misophonic people and just, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna get everybody, and we will all be free and live happily ever after. And well, that didn't happen. But I just, but I mean, I just had to know, like, not in the sense that I'm just a passionate geek and I just must know. I couldn't comprehend my life story without understanding how it's possible to turn into something else completely.
Mm-hmm.
So only after I got the results, I started learning the theory. Or I mean, I was also reading the things that Owen would link me between sessions,
Mm-hmm.
because I really, I think I remember the mindset of thinking that this is going to fail because it's an impossible brain disorder. So we are going to
Mm-hmm.
fail this thing, but it's not going to be because of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We'll fail it,
Yeah.
but not because I didn't do the homework. So
Yes.
it's gonna be on him. This is gonna be like a
Uh-huh.
trash fire, but at least it's not gonna be my fault that it's a trash fire. So I did learn the basic things during the change work, but I was
Okay.
constantly exhausted because I was doing the flashbacks and sleeping most of the time. I could sleep amazing amounts of hours every day because I couldn't get proper rest from sleep anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, after I got more bandwidth, more
Mm-hmm.
accessible brain, more accessible world, I started reading into it. I think I started reading Bruce Ecker as the first thing, like so many of us. But
Mm-hmm.
I've read a
Yeah.
little bit of everything since then.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's, I'm not going to go into my whole thing, but so I still have my own reaction, but so I'm kind of going backwards from you. I'm learning all about memory reconsolidation, and then and then hopefully helping
All
myself.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
going the
why not?
opposite way. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And yeah, and there's a lot of therapies that can do it. But yeah, Bruce Ecker's therapy is coherence therapy. And it's if you're a therapist watching this, I am a therapist and I recommend that learning that. Or even just learning about memory reconsolidation, because it could help modalities that somebody might be using now work even better. Just what the process of memory reconsolidation is. So the NLP, which you did, EMDR, I have heard internal family systems helping people. What else? There's some somatic approach,
Acceptance and commitment. Again,
not
I have been.
no, not acceptance and commitment therapy. That wouldn't be.
No.
But I like the
Okay.
therapy. I like it. It's a good therapy. It's a great therapy.
Okay.
It's more different though. Acceptance and commitment therapy, I don't think goes into the memories, and I think a lot of this work is you have to go back in. You got to go back in to the original crime a bit. I think that a little bit of that, but there is I think there is ACT work, which is acceptance and commitment therapy, that can be useful for misophonia. I think it can be very useful for misophonia. The acceptance, that's a whole different topic though, but yes, there's a lot of therapists also using just ACT for misophonia, and I think there are ideas around that can be helpful, but I think the therapies that do help are the ones that bring about the memory reconsolidation, and probably you're going back into some of this older stuff, and the prediction era, right? Those prediction eras. But so what would you give any tips for people with misophonia that are maybe watching this and that are like, their brains are exploding like mine is? What are some tips that would you give for somebody?
Okay, I have so many, because I've been there and I know it's terrible. I think the first thing I would say is that while you are working on it, you really have to be away from triggering environment, because like you wouldn't take a person who has just survived war and start working on this person while they are still in the environment where they are hearing like loud bangs and everything. You cannot get a person calm if they are not in the environment where they are not safe enough. So that's thing number one. You have to be away from triggers as much as possible when you are working on it, so you can control the amount of triggers yourself, like working through YouTube clips where you can bring a little bit of that up, or you can only trigger yourself through the last memory of being triggered. So it's really low intensity that you need for working for it. But the big thing that people are missing when they are creating the working environment is that it is really, really helpful if you also decrease the amount of contact you have with people who are triggering you, and not even during the time that they would be making the trigger sound. So while I was working on this, I think I spent like a month having much less connection with my parents, which sounds kind of reverse because my parents were supporting of me getting help, but it's still helpful to relate to more distant people who are less of a trigger, and not just in the sense of sounds, but they are less likely to pull you into the internal childhood thing.
Okay.
You know,
that's
contact with people who knew you as a child will pull you to the child mindset.
Okay.
So that's really helpful to be less exposed to people who will pull you into like child mindset. I am listing, because when I got free, I wanted to get all of the misophonic people free and all kind of awesome ideas of the world that would be more beautiful than the one we are currently actually living in. You know, I kind of struggled with reaching out for the misophonic people. And I started to create memory reconsolidation internet forums to have this broader thing, because it's not just a reactivity to sounds. You can change pretty much anything, even though I came from the sound background. So I have been listing different kind of helpful therapy modalities. The thing I want to say to misophonic people is that not only is there a way out, there are multiple ways out, and it really doesn't look like it while we are still in there, but yeah, there is. So getting connected to somebody who can work on memories in any way available to you is helpful. And by availability, I do mean like in the sense of money, in the sense who is local or who is working over the internet, but also because everybody learns different. Like some people will prefer to learn physically, like the type of memory work that's about eye movements or touching your face or about breathing and stuff. And some people, like me, will prefer more abstract ways of working on it, like imagining things or wishing for things or, you know, working in your mind. So those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your travels, have you met other people that have also changed from misophonia that no longer have it?
Yes, but less than one per year.
Okay, wow.
So not often.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were discussing things in email, and you mentioned somebody, I forgot who this person was, like somebody who had gotten free from misophonia but is now doing their own service for others.
Yes, there's a colleague. Yeah.
You linked me somebody's website, and I was checking out this website, and then I was looking at Misophonia International website, which I haven't looked into in like, I don't know, 6 years or something. Because for me, they were always this group of people who don't want to talk to people who got free because they are threatening the status quo or something. But I was looking at it, and the treatment page mentioned that there are people who claim to have gotten free. So it's like,
I'm not sure what maybe that's a different website. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the Misophonia International website, not the practitioner who got free.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that like 10 years ago, nobody could say that they got beyond it. But now even some websites are mentioning that there are people who got out of it. So I'm like,
what did
is it safe now? Like, can I say it in public now?
Can I say? I think you can.
Can I come out of the sound closet?
Well, I'm letting you out of the sound closet because I think it's important. I think it's so important.
Thank you.
Important that we, I think it's just so important because, I don't think the brain is broken. I think
the brain is not broken.
I don't like calling it a neurological disorder.
Because it's not.
You could call it maybe a neural pathway where you could change the brain issue. Yeah. But what did the other people that you talked to, what did they do?
Yeah, usually meet people who might not have read into memory reconsolidation theory, but when I talk to them about the type of things they went through to change it, usually people have done something like hypnotherapy or something, which would be within the modalities that can trigger the reconsolidation. So it's not necessary to go read the books and all that. But yeah, the people yeah, I have even made a tiny list in Reddit because obviously I told everybody that Owen helped me out of it, and I was recommending him for everybody, and I still am because I think he's the top professional on this field. But people were saying to me that you are just advertising this person, and or some people would say that they have messaged him, but they were not a match. So they, for one reason or another.
I think he is particular. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's particular for, he doesn't work with children. He only works with adults. And I think he even said to me, if I can't help somebody within a few months, I stop working with them. So, I guess so there's limits, and I appreciate that about him, because I think we have to be, as practitioners, we have to be careful and say, this is going to work. This is going to help you. This is going to be the thing. And it's not always the thing for different, maybe it worked for one person and it didn't work for another person. So we have to, but I think, and everybody's different. We're all different, different. We're not the same model, but I think, what I think is the most fascinating and interesting part is the memory reconsolidation stuff and bringing that up. And it takes a skilled person to do it and to understand it. But yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look at your Reddit thing.
Yeah, I made a list of practitioners who have helped someone out of misophonia, and I think my list currently has 4 or 5 names, so there are options.
Yeah,
but I only listed people. I only listed practitioners who have gotten somebody out. So it's not a big list, but it is a list.
Yes.
So there are options.
Yeah. And I hope other practitioners start to learn it, and that's, I guess, what I try to do. I'm personally trying to help people and learn and get out of it. But it's yes, it takes I don't know, maybe for some people you can learn a specific modality and just do it well and it works for somebody, but I think
sure.
Yeah, that could happen. So I know EMDR practitioners that know nothing about misophonia, but they've worked with somebody with misophonia and they're like, oh, it worked, but they don't even know why. Just they know how to do the therapy, but the why is probably because their memories got reconsolidated. That's why.
Yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes there are people who haven't gone into the social identity of a person who has a misophonia, but they've gone straight into like what the problem is because they've never learned the word. They just go somewhere like, I can't deal with the sounds, and then maybe they have had success or maybe not, but then they wouldn't show up in the forums anyway because they missed out on the social club.
The social club, yes, of having it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we've talked for a long time. Any other last thoughts on this before we kind of close?
Well, I'm really grateful for you to, even contact me because we had like 1 or 2 email contact like 3 months ago or something.
Yes.
And then I linked you to things like, this was the practitioner who helped me, and then I didn't hear from you for like maybe 3 months or something.
Yeah.
And then you sent me a message. I was like really surprised, like, oh, she's back. That was awesome. And I really noticed that I haven't been talking about this thing in a long while. And I kind of need the social pull to kind of get back to the field and what's up. And I've never stopped working on like memory reconsolidation field because I'm really fascinated by integrating the field, like all these modalities and everything. But I do come from the sound background, and now I'm having the opportunity to talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of jumping from one thing to another because it's also such a distant thing for me.
Yeah,
Like,
I hear it. I hear it. It
I've
was a
done a
long.
lot of forgetting and a lot of remembering and some more forgetting and remembering, and now I'm
Yeah,
here and I have the future that I wanted. But it's,
that's amazing.
yeah. Thank you, the
Yeah,
past me as well, for doing all the work because I kind of knew I'm giving
yeah.
gifts for my future self.
Yeah, you did
So
the and you and it was
I
work. It was work too. It was you put a lot of effort into this yourself too. So it wasn't like you're
yep.
doing 1 hour of therapy a week or anything like that with Owen. It was like doing these experiments and all these kind of things. That's really really super cool. So all
Yes.
right. All right. Well, we'll end here. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for talking with me.